How are you? Welcome back.
Oh, it feels good to be back in Chicago. I've been gone for 3 weeks. Has it been quiet around here? Like I said earlier, I always miss you, even when you're right in front of me.
You know, some days I wish you could, like, you're definitely not the Hallmark guy.
No, I'm definitely not the Hallmark guy. I mean, I could write some pretty morbid cards.
Let's talk to somebody who is very romantic, nice and sweet, and is always nice to me.
Always Mr. Romance.
Hi. How's it going,
Good
Mr.
morning,
Rocks?
girl. Good morning, guys.
You're celebrating a birthday pretty soon.
Next week, September 6th.
What are we doing for your birthday?
In the house. I don't know. You guys need to plan that out for me.
Dang, you getting old, bro. You getting a gray hair over there.
Still under.
Oh, no, you just
Still
silver.
under that club.
Yeah. You the under 40 club?
Yeah.
There's enough about you. Let's get to the people that actually matter here today. We're not here for you. We're not here for Karla. We're not here for me. Even though I like to think we're here for me all the time. But we're not. Let's be real. Today we talking fancy.
Fancy?
Who wants to introduce our fancy guest? Because we're talking fancy.
You know what, Nick? You know, looking back at all our shows, I realized that Mr. Funes has never hosted a show on his own. He's been literally
Do we do this to him?
Wow.
Should we just pull back from the mic?
I did. You both
No, you did
hung
not.
me out to dry.
You
Guzman.
did 2 minutes.
Come on.
2 minutes is all you
remember that
did.
show.
You remember it because it was the longest
2
2 minutes
minutes
of your life. It was the first time you ever lasted 2 minutes in your life, and now you're bragging about it.
That's
like
true.
it was like
That is
like you
true.
made
That is
something
true.
magical happen.
I don't want to
It's
know
true.
about
We
it. but
walked
okay.
in. You weren't even at the first break, and you're like, "Oh my
He was
god!"
shaking. He was like, I mean, Javier has co-hosted shows with me, and you've been part of the original
I
Mod
can hold my
Squad.
own. You know damn well
I don't
can
know
hold
that
my
he
own.
can.
No
Can
more
he?
than 2 minutes. This is the word around the street.
That's
no
all you
more than
need,
2
though.
minutes.
How do you know that?
His voice was crackling. Welcome to Market Overdrive. My name is Graco from iLoan.
What did you used to tell him? It's okay.
Today's
Not that many
guest
people
is
speak.
Guzman.
Was that really Mabel
It was
Guzman?
Mabel.
on the
It
show?
was Mabel
You
Guzman.
guys are like
Yeah.
boyfriend and wife or whatever. I don't know what role you play because you
And
know
then-
each other. What was he wearing that day?
I don't remember. I think he was like naked because he was sweating so bad he had to take his clothes off.
All right, take it away. Let me
All right,
see
let's
you
get
mess up and butcher this name.
All right, so today in studio we have Lauren Schuh of Sotheby International Realty and an awesome developer by the name of Jacob Bletnitsky.
Very good.
Right?
Bletnitsky.
Bletnitsky.
Of the Russland Capital Group. And I'm-
Russland Capital Group. I love that.
Russland Capital Group, right? And I'm happy to have these guys in the studio here because they're going to talk a little bit about these luxury rentals that are going up in the South Loop.
Yeah.
So I saw Lawrence post a few weeks back, and it caught my attention because, A, she was wearing a pretty cool hard hat on site of this new project.
Looking like
That's
a
going
village
on.
person.
You were
Yeah.
flirting with
I had
Lauren?
my
Is
little
that what it
heart
was?
I was not
He
flirting.
saw her and he's like, "Hey, girl, do you have feathers and perhaps a police
She's
costume with that
working.
too?" I'm
What
into
other
that
costume
stuff.
do you wear?
Come on, man.
I don't know where your mind is this morning, Nick, so
The
you're going to
village
need
people.
to tone it down a little
I
bit.
heard hard hat. I thought village people.
Leave Lauren alone. She's a professional young lady, and I love it. Great story here in the studio today. Every week, we have amazing guests because we want to elevate your real estate IQ about what's happening in the real estate market. And this morning, we're going to talk about dog runs, massage parlors, yoga studios.
Massage parlors.
Not a massage parlor.
We're not getting a massage parlor?
Like, right away, the Russian jumped in there. No. I'm out of the massage business.
But that's a good idea.
Why not? A sauna. We're talking about saunas, yogas, hot baths, cold baths, jump in, jump out. I mean, come on. You bring.
I think
it's called,
everything except for
The
massage.
price per unit just went up.
The price per unit just went up.
it's called Russland Capital Group. You don't have a sauna in there?
We do.
Oh,
We do.
see?
That's in the gym. I'm sure there's
And
a
a
gym.
masseuse.
It's in the gym.
And a
That's
So
right.
masseuse.
let's slow it down for a second. Let's get a little bit serious here. Let's from what I understand, we're developing here. Russland is developing some projects in the West Loop. Is that correct?
South
South
Loop.
Loop.
South Loop. Okay, South Loop. Thriving part of town, especially post crash. It's really picked some steam up over the last 2-3 years. Even before the crash, there were some magnificent buildings that were going on up there, just south of Roosevelt, especially some competing high rises with the skylines is what you start to see. Because back in the day, they were usually, I don't want to say low rises, but 15 stories, 10 stories. But
Yes.
now
I would
they're
say
getting tall.
In the beginning, it was
They're
just
getting
smaller
tall.
buildings that were timber lofts that were converted in the beginning.
Yeah. So
Right.
the South
They-
Loop is here to compete now.
They're doing it on Michigan and Roosevelt right now. About 80-story building.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be 750 units. Going to be done in
Changing
3
the
years.
architecture forever, the
Right.
skyline forever. So tell us a little bit about the project. You can jump in, or you can jump in. I'm open to whoever wants to go in there. But it sounds like we have a lot of nice stuff going on. So tell us about
Go
the
ahead,
rental
Jacob.
project.
We building right now. A project is on 1407 on Michigan. It's going to be 199 units.
Wow.
And the building is 15-story high. Building going to have rush immediate care, 45,000 square feet of the medical facility
Oh, in the building.
in the building.
That's perfect for someone.
First few floors.
Right. First two floors going to be parking for the rush, and then another 2 floors going to be medical facility.
But don't worry, no ambulances.
No ambulances.
No, nothing
it's just
like
going to
that.
be
Just offices.
doctor offices, immediate care. They're going to have service for the people who live in the building and the area next to the building. Like if you have an emergency, you want to walk in, you don't need appointment, they will take you.
Great. I'll take 1 unit for my mother.
Perfect.
She always, she
I have
thinks
the prices right
she
here.
thinks she's dying all the time.
I'm gonna send you,
know, we
at
just-
least right now.
Yeah, we spend at least 3 trips a year to the emergency room where they check her out and there's nothing wrong with her. So, make sure you get that at least ready for
This
Lydia
would be
Memeti.
perfect for you.
Yeah,
You don't
this would
even
be
have to
perfect.
leave.
She
She can just walk
Just
downstairs.
walk downstairs, Ma. You're going to be fine.
Right to a doctor.
So tell us a little bit more about the amenities. There's a hospital, essentially
So-
clinical care right in the building, so that's good.
This building's going to have a lot of high-end amenities. We're one of the nicest buildings in the South Loop. I've been there as a broker for going on 16 years, and Jacob builds a very nice product. This is going to have everything.
This building going to be a really high-end rental building. We're putting 3,000 square feet gym in there. And like you said, gym will have a sauna next to it, the showers. If people work out, they want to take a sauna. Not the sauna, the steam room.
Steam room.
Right. We're going to have half a basketball court in there, yoga studio, and we're talking to the instructors of the yoga studios to come and give lessons,
They're gonna
once
have
or
a set
twice.
schedule. You can
Right.
walk down, just go take a yoga class in
That's
the
what
building.
we're going to have outside workout area for people who like to work out outside.
That's good.
And we're going to have a swimming pool
Indoor, outdoor.
outdoor.
Oh,
I want to tell you something. A lot of people feel it's a great luxury to have indoor pool in the building. And I went through a lot of buildings
don't.
who have the indoor pool, and you know what? Nobody uses it.
No.
we don't. I actually stayed in a building around the corner for 6 years, 600 Fairbanks, which is an amazing building. I'm sure you're familiar with
Yeah.
it. The only complaint I ever had about the building is the
I hated
pools
it.
inside.
Yeah.
What do you mean you hated
I
it?
hated
You were
it.
swimming there at 3 o'clock in the morning. You
He
weren't
was there
complaining.
I hated it.
Now you can't swim in the winter, but who really feels like
Yeah.
swimming
Right,
when it's
that's
like
right.
10 degrees
I agree
outside?
with you,
Nobody.
yes.
But being outside and having the water and the sun, it's
we
a lot more.
we
fulfilling.
built a building. I did 10 years ago development 1400 South Michigan, right across the street from the building we're doing it now, and we have a beautiful pool outside. And I want to tell you, over the weekend and during the week, you can't even get a chair there.
Yeah.
That's how many people enjoying the pool.
Well, it's good. Let me open up a table service there. Where I can charge for rental.
You can
talked
put a
about
bar in.
that.
You can put a bar in there.
Put
That's
up a
what
bar
we're
in there,
great.
how they work in Las Vegas. If you want this bed, it's $500 for the
Yeah,
day.
right.
We can
Lily
make
beds
some
are
extra money,
$500
right,
bucks.
Graco?
It's going to be allowed for subleasing in there. Nick, before we get into the amenities of the property, why don't we get to know a little bit more about our host? Where did you come up with this idea? Why did you identify that location? Give us a little bit more about yourself, Jacob.
I started building in South Loop about 20-some years ago, and
wow.
I remember
He's the original founder.
When,
Right.
when
When
nobody
nobody
was building
wanted
in the
to do
South
it.
Loop.
right. When I 20 years ago, I purchased land at 1250 South Michigan, and then I want to tell you a funny story. When I came to look at the property, I came with my wife, and I said, "What do you think about it?" And then I'm talking to the real estate broker, and turn around, my wife is not around. So I kind of looked, and she's all upset, almost crying. And I said, "What's going on?" She says, "Are you kidding me? You want to build in here?" So I said, "Yeah, I want to build in here."
We're going to go broke.
Yeah. So she didn't believe in me. But later on, when we start building, and the 1250 South Michigan was the first high-rise in decade on Michigan Avenue in the South Loop.
And here we are 20 years later, your wife
Right.
says it was her idea, right?
That's right.
That's what
It's always her
marriage-
idea.
Totally.
It's
My
always
My idea,
her idea.
he couldn't see it, I saw it.
Yeah, that's right.
I picked
It's
everything
always
out.
the wife's idea. I'm sure she supported him and told him that it was.
He
gonna be
didn't
great.
want to
I
do
don't
it,
know.
but I pushed him
She's not
into
here
it.
to tell us the real story, but we're gonna go there. Well, aside from that project, you've also had. I mean, your tenure takes you to Skokie, Ravenswood, 150 units there in Oak Park, where you did 2 buildings, and then you also did a conversion there, and you also kept rentals. So now we're going from like residential condo luxury sales that you were doing in the past to now luxury rentals. Why?
The first reason is the financing. If you're gonna start to build,
Are you
a-
going to be talking bad about banks and how horrible
Go
they
ahead.
are? They
Oh, I
don't lend
love
you
to-
any money.
I love to talk
Please,
bad
let's
about
do this,
banks.
So
because
do
we have
So
2
do we.
people
So go
here.
ahead, go ahead.
you can get the financing for a condo.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yes, you can if you're a billionaire and your project is 100 million and you can put up 50 or 60 million, the bank will lend you 40.
Wait.
That's the
you're
case.
You're from Russia. You're not a billionaire?
No, I'm one of the poor Russians.
Okay. We have live a Russian 1000 there with us today.
You're so annoying.
He's not from the oil
No, but
family.
Right.
This has been an epidemic for a while. That's why condos have slowed down. This has been a big problem.
Condos are slowing down, and the problem with condos, the construction cost is extremely expensive right now. And even today in the South Loop or even in the Gold Coast, you still can find condo fairly cheap. And for developer to build a condo building, beside financing problems and all, the prices are not there yet.
Right.
And
And we're talking about the resale prices. They're not there to justify the initial investment.
that's
and,
true.
and land has gotten so expensive.
And
You
land-
called me on a lot in West Loop
Right.
a month ago, and we priced it out for a condo building. You said it doesn't make sense, Lauren.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It's amazing because the rentals are very popular and they're coming up everywhere. This is you have luxury rentals popping up now. Obviously in the South Loop, the West Loop, right here in the Gold Coast, a bunch of them right here in Streeterville, and they're actually making it very easy. And I don't know what the rules and regs are to get into your building yet, but we'll find out. But they've made it pretty easy where, corporate America has taken over this world versus just a single developer. Where you put a credit card on file, you're moving in. Is there even a first month security on some of these as long as you have a credit card? I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, there's
And the buildings are getting nicer
yeah.
and nicer and nicer, and you're like, oh, geez.
So you're saying it's becoming easier to become a tenant, to
It's
be
becoming
to rent a
easier.
property?
Easier to become
it's
a
becoming
tenant.
easier
yes.
to become a tenant, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Much
regulations. And I want to ask you this because I know you're going to frown upon it, but I need to ask it. 3 months rent? 1 month?
No free rent.
Jacob
I was trying to
doesn't
get
wanna
something
talk to
free
them.
here.
No.
Thousandaire, not billionaire. You still got to pay some bills.
No, he told me a story off air where he owed somebody $50,000. He just took out a debt, right, to do a new construction, and he was, he started in the dental world,
Right.
and he was, fixing teeth for free. So I'm figuring, like, if he can do
why
teeth
his
for,
teeth are
he
so
can
nice.
fix his teeth for free,
He's got nice
then you can
teeth.
go ahead and give somebody a 1 month's rent for free. His luxury
That
property.
wasn't the story. He
I
was-
think those
Can I
things
tell
are
my
done.
story
Can
the
you
way
tell
I
the
read
story?
it? Jacob,
the
what was
correct
the
way?
story? Tell
You
him.
know,
Come on.
the
You're gonna love this guy. He's such a sweetheart. Come on.
the story is me and my partner, we closed the construction loan about, like I said, 20 years ago for $50 million construction loan. And I told him after we did that, I said, listen, I got to do something back in the lab. You want to come with me? He says, sure. So we're going in the lab and I'm fixing the tools or something. And he's looking at me. He says, how much you charging for that? I said, well, this is for nothing. He says, you kidding me? Don't tell this to anybody, please. He says, people gonna think that you're crazy. He says, we just closed on a $50 million loan and you're working here for free?
Working for free on teeth. Graco still basket weaves.
Mm-hmm.
In
I
his
do.
spare time, he likes to donate, and so
That's what you
So?
do.
But
I've never gotten one.
But so tell us a little bit more about the building specifically. We touched on a little bit some of the amenities. What are the demands today? Because it seems like we always have to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
And when you read the promo piece, like you said, dog walking areas and swimming pools and fitness centers, and I mean it's getting insane.
Yeah.
But what else is in the building that
So what I'm finding, as a broker in the neighborhood is just that this location where they're building this building is the premium spot. most people want to be between 12th and 14th on Michigan Avenue. It's one of the best locations. You go a little farther south and it gets a little bit quiet, and then things are picking up by McCormick Place, and there's a lot of other new development, but we're in the prime central area where people want to be right now.
The heart of South Loop.
The heart of South Loop. You walk out the door, you have, Firehouse Restaurant is next door. You can grab the bus. You can grab a cab easily, obviously, an Uber as well. Across the street, we have one of the best breakfast places called Waffles, Giordano's Pizza. There's all these things right there that have recently opened. There's multiple places to work out, place to go get your hair blown out.
Right.
And now you
nail
have a shopping
salons.
center with the movie theater. And you got Portillo's. Everybody loves Portillo's.
Right.
And we've lived in the neighborhood a long time, and so we really know this block. We know all the neighbors walking around. It's so fun to walk last minute. Hey, who's playing at Soldier Field tonight? I don't know, but traffic's
You
crazy.
can walk right into
we
Soldier
walk
Field.
over there.
You can
Yeah,
walk
let's
right-
just go buy a ticket.
I tailgate right there before I go to a Bears
Do
game.
you? Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
So there's
I
so
know
many.
exactly how close it is.
The location's awesome, and what we're finding is, there's a lot of condo buildings, but there's not a lot of rental buildings with very high-end amenities, but we have a lot of tenants. So what we're finding is the demand for high-end finishes, luxury finishes. I mean, these guys aren't just putting in 42-inch cabinets with marble and granite. They're stepping it up. It's quartz countertops. All the cabinets are gorgeous. They're beautiful. They have two-tone kitchens, hardwood floors throughout, solid core doors.
Stainless steel?
Solid core doors. We order all interior and entry doors from Italy.
Wow.
I mean,
So we're gonna
everything's
have a
top-notch.
really nice finishes, and we're doing built-in closets in the units. So the unit's gonna be really nice.
Last but not least, it's still on one of the most famous streets in the entire world,
Right.
Michigan Avenue,
Michigan Avenue.
which doesn't suck.
No,
Yeah.
And that's why I love the fact that you.
It is Michigan Avenue.
The
at
name
end
of the
day.
project is 1407 on Michigan.
Right.
right.
But it's kind of cool. Let's take it back a little bit to the 101 about real estate. You've done this for a long time, and we kind of like just ran through your resume here per se and all the projects that you've done. But I think that there's a lot of pride, right, when you're doing a project and you're saying I brought in product from Italy, and this is what you get after tenured developer is doing a project. And also, more importantly, when you're talking about like the amenities, the square footage, and what you put into this is pride. And you also talk about something that we always echo here on the show is a location that you're familiar with. You both
Right.
live in the area. You've looked at it. You love the United
love
Center
United
area.
Center.
And that's because you live there. You flip properties there.
It's comfortable there.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. And that's why we're always advising you that if you're going to be an investor, you're going to start getting into real estate, that you look into areas that are comfortable to you, where you want to see that the neighborhood is, growing and it's becoming better because you understand the dynamics of like the neighborhood, who's coming in, who's moving out. I had a girl call me last week and she wants to buy it in the Austin neighborhood. She's a single mom, one child. And I said, you want to where? And she said, Austin, because I'm noticing, the changes that I lived in Humboldt Park and now I can't buy anything there. And I lived in Logan Square and I didn't buy there. And now
She's getting priced out.
Right. She was getting priced out until now she's like, Austin is the next place. And I'm like, key.
Yeah.
But I love that. We have to understand the fact that you have to work where you feel comfortable, where you're seeing growth. You've been there for a long time, you said? 20 years or so?
I live right across the street from the project at 1400 South Michigan.
Oh, great. Now we know where to find you.
That's
And it's
right.
the only
And I,
area-
and I built this building. So you're talking about taking the pride in your work. When I moved in my building, people told me not too many developers would live in their own building.
Your wife, again, she
Never.
was in the
No,
car. She didn't want to leave the car.
She liked the building, yeah.
I sell a lot in the building now with all the resales, and I tell people all the time, I say, the developer of the building lives
in
here.
the building.
I mean, you never see that. You see a developer, who's a developer? I don't know. They built this, and they're gone.
And
They
they're in a
run
different
away.
You
neighborhood.
can find him
Different
walking
neighborhood.
his dog,
Yeah.
So.
My two daughter lives in the building. They got their own apartments there, so my family loves the building.
Yeah, when you say taking pride in a building, I have to tell you, I've never seen somebody so happy holding a stainless steel undermount sink. He was like, Lauren, you have to see these things for the new project. And he's sitting there holding them. He's like, aren't they beautiful?
And then she goes, "Can I get one for my
Yeah, I
apartment?"
did.
That's called foreign pride, man.
He's so, he loves picking out finishes.
Foreign
and making
pride.
things look awful. Like,
It's not
make
always.
awesome.
It's not always about the money. Sometimes it's just
Right.
about saying that I did that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's what
absolutely.
You
makes
know,
more
I
proud.
always
the money's
tell,
gonna be there.
I
but
always say when I finish the project, I want to be able to bring my friend and say, "Look, I
Look what I
built this
did."
building."
Right.
And
So
we
let me
all-
ask you.
go
Let me
ahead.
ask you a touchy, well, not a touchy question because this is public information. But what is you have studios,
Yeah.
You have one bedrooms, obviously. Do you go up to three?
Yeah,
Two?
we got
where go?
studios, we got convertibles, we got one bedrooms, two bedrooms, and three bedrooms.
Give us the average rate of a studio, a one and a two, real
So
quick.
our studios start at $1,825.
Okay.
Convertibles $1,975. Small one bedrooms $2,100. Then we have larger one bedrooms that are between around $2,275. Two bedrooms starting at $3,275, and three bedrooms $5,400.
Significantly cheaper than just up the street.
Then
That's a significantly.
Fairbanks, yeah.
I have
Well,
a
no, I mean, like, just dividing. We're talking about a quarter mile here.
Right.
We're not talking about 5 miles. You could literally walk from their building into anything on Michigan Avenue.
For sure.
Yeah,
And
I
you're
have-
paying a lot less in rent prices.
Price per square foot, yes.
I have a lot of clients that live in South Loop that actually work in this building, and they
Right.
walk. Some of them ride their scooter to work,
Right.
but they walk all the time.
But I think you just said like a
25, 30
two-bedroom.
minutes walk.
I think you just said a two-bedroom starts at 30. What was it?
$3,275.
Yeah,
and
that's
we're
that
between
starts around 4,000 here in newer buildings. The way it's done
right with all these high-end
with
amenities.
all these amenities, right,
and they're
absolutely.
between 1,100 and 1,150 square feet. So they're not going to be two bedrooms that are really, really small. I mean, I've sold
good
some of those
size.
and walked into, two bedrooms for this price, and you walk in and it's 700 square feet.
Here's a question, though,
this
because
is a
Nick
big
just said these
place.
are pretty reasonable in price compared to what we're seeing over here.
literally 2 blocks away.
Are these like entry prices, right?
Well,
Yeah, what I'm
everything-
quoting you is like where we're starting at in that tier, for
Okay.
instance. You know,
Right,
we're
the
going to
higher
have
the floor, the more it's going to probably go up a little bit.
right,
which is
just like in
common
a
sense.
construction or new construction condo building, every developer's going to charge a little bit more for the higher floor with the better
views.
view. So they'll adjust a little bit per floor, but that's our starting prices.
So let me ask you the curious question, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I'm the guy that always asks the question. Why not eventually just turn these into condos? If you're a tenant living in there, sell it to the tenants. If I love living there, I would probably want to buy it eventually, but, is that ever a plan?
Well, for us to turn them into the condo, it's going to be fairly expensive condos.
Right.
And
well,
the prices are not there yet.
they're not there yet.
Nick,
But
we're
it's
talking
something that
about
can be done.
450 to 1,750 square foot. I mean, these are not small boxes.
Yeah, 1,700 square
1,700
feet.
square
Prices are what they are.
I understand
1,700
that.
square feet, three bedroom will probably go close to $1 million. And the tenant will say, why would I want to pay $1 million where for 5,000 I can live in here?
Who's your target audience? Who are you expecting to live and rent these properties?
Well, with the amount of studios and convertibles we have, then we're thinking it's going to be a lot of millennials. And what I'm seeing too in this market every day is that a lot of people, there are still a lot of millennials that don't want to commit to a property because they're not sure if how long they're going to be living here. They're only in a job for a couple of years. They might relocate.
Still
So,
roommates.
yeah, still having roommates. So there's a lot of people that still want to rent, and they're just not there yet. So that's who I see our target audience to be on our studios, convertibles, our one bedrooms. But just knowing the neighborhood and what's across the street and what's next door, I think we'll also get families that are renting our 3 bedrooms and our 2 bedrooms. I'm raising my daughter in that neighborhood. She goes to school right across the street there, and we have a ton of families in the area that are looking for 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. What I'm finding are people in our neighborhood aren't fleeing to the suburbs. They're staying. They're renting or buying, but they're staying. They're not, they're putting their kids in school. Down the street from the building, we just had a new pediatric office that opened. So I think, that's showing there's children and families with kids in our neighborhood. So I think we will get some of them in our 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we are talking about millennials. So if you are this demographic, right, we understand that your instant gratification, want to live the lifestyle of a millionaire, but the affordability is not there when it comes to purchasing. I mean, you're talking about a 1,750 square foot condo rental with all the amenities. I mean, in an amenity building, that would be like, what, $1,700 or more, like $2,000 in assessments if you had all those amenities.
Easily, yeah.
At least, right.
So you have to look into comparison. And of course, you're starting to look at the market trends, right, for the neighborhood. Once you start talking about mommies and strollers coming into the neighborhood, there's a shifting market. So you're looking from a very transient neighborhood that used to be young professionals who just wanted to be close to their jobs are now looking into settled communities where it's cozy, stroller moms are moving in, and it's changing. I mean, you have like all the shopping centers, all the restaurants that were on Roosevelt, but then you also are getting them over by Harrison too, right? They're changing there by the lake.
There's a lot of stuff
Right.
changing by McCormick
By
Place.
McCormick Place as well, right?
Yeah.
But if you go a little further west, you're getting a lot of changes in the neighborhood. So it's
Yeah.
a great time. And I mean, who is your neighbor? Who's the person that's taking, what do you say, the first and second floors
Oh,
were
that's a big
parking?
name.
The fourth floor, it's like the best neighbor ever because you said how much money are they dumping into
I
this
haven't
project?
moved. I'm not
They-
moving in there.
You're not.
No.
Another bigger neighbor than you. Like you have a big head. I mean, this person has a
They
big
won't-
pocket.
I applied. My credit got denied.
No, you said they're giving them away.
I
so-
even offered a whole year cash up front. They said no.
because of the parties you're going to have there.
Fine, whatever.
No, but you have Rush there, right? You have
Yes.
the professionals, the doctors. I'm moving in.
Yeah.
Get
the-
it?
That's probably half
Doctors?
the staff there.
The staff.
Half the
we
staff is going to live
nurses.
in that building probably.
We
Right.
just-
Rush already talking to us to get some apartments for their doctors. Yes.
Yeah.
See, I like it when he says that. Rush.
Rush.
Like the Russians. He's got in.
Question though,
Yeah.
when you guys took on this project, did you guys already have that in mind that you wanted, you being from the medical field, right? Or having a little medical
He tried to get a big dental studio in there.
It didn't work out.
It's too big.
40,000
So was that in
square feet of
mind?
dental
Was that something
Uh,
that you considered in
No,
mind?
not really.
No.
When I tell you, I was trying to buy that piece of land 15, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And during the negotiation, when the economy collapsed, kind of, I decided not to touch it. And we purchased this land 3 years ago. We went back to the original buyers, and I mean original sellers, and we purchased 3 years ago, much cheaper than it was 10 years ago. And so
Good things
I
come to
like,
the
I
root.
used to, I love that piece for many years already, and I was always want to get it. And once we buy it, Rush kind of came to us. They love the area, they love the neighborhood, they love the location, and we negotiate with them for a year. And the first 6 months, we didn't know who we're negotiating with.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Why?
yeah,
Give
they
us the
would-
inside
Yeah, he
scoop.
didn't
Right?
know
They
at
wouldn't,
first.
they wouldn't release the information.
What's it, you?
Pretty smart because
LLC behind.
But if you need a gym, let me know.
Right.
You might be getting a gym negotiation. You don't even know.
So and
Are
when
you plugging your gym already?
No, I'm not.
Jesus. This cross-pollination thing's not
I'm
working
not
out.
plugging a gym.
Okay,
You
sorry.
can't
Go
blame-
back to.
you
Let's go
can't
back to
blame them.
Jacob. His
So,
story is much more
right.
interesting than Nick's.
So and then they told us, well, we like to get 20,000 square feet. I mean 40,000 square feet. I said 40,000. I gotta know who I'm talking to. I said it's half of the building almost.
Wow.
So I gotta make sure it's solid tenant. And then they made us sign bunch of documents, and they released the information who they are, and we started talking to them, and that took us almost a year to
Wow.
sign them up.
Is there any more commercial space left in the building?
No,
It's all gone.
yeah, all gone.
Nope. Sorry, Graco. We can't move in. They weren't going to let us move in anyway.
Not at
Well,
all.
we have a small
I
office
was gonna
there,
say, you have your
1,500 square feet,
No,
where
no, I got
the
it.
Russland main office is gonna be. So
You guys seem like
We
you'd get
can
along
share it
well.
with
I think
you.
you'd have fun on a daily basis.
We can't do 1,500 square feet.
He's having
That's just my
meetings with
office.
private people. You can't even know their names aside on paper. So
Right.
it's pretty interesting. I love it. I mean, you're talking about owning a dental lab, right? It's what you said. It's where you
Yes.
started. And so a lot of people may want to ask, okay, how do I do it? How do I get inspired? How can you inspire me? Where did you start? I mean, why from medical to now real estate?
I have a friend who was in the construction business for many years, and one day he came to me. He said,
Okay.
"Listen, why don't we open up a construction company?" I looked at him. I said, "Listen, I don't know much about construction. As a matter of fact, I don't know anything about it." He said, "Well, I know everything, and you know a lot of people, so we kind of joined together and we started slowly." I said, "Fine." And on the beginning, we did some remodeling for my friends. You know, I had a lot of clients in the dental business. We did remodeling for them. And then little by little, we were moving on. Then we purchased a building in Skokie, and we did a conversion. Then we purchased a couple of buildings in Oak Park. One of them we did a conversion. The other one we kept it for a couple of years, and then we sold it. And little by little, we were building up, and then we came to high-rises. And the first high-rise was
Scary.
very scary
I bet.
and a big step up.
Yeah.
And I told my friend, listen, by that time I already knew construction and I knew what's going on in the business. And I said, listen, you know, the best thing, we can surround ourselves with the best people in the business, and they're going to help us to build the high-rise. And that's what we did.
So
now
you gotta
you're on
do
your
it.
third.
Yeah, now we're in the third high-rise.
What's after this one?
Well, we're looking for a project right now.
You're looking, okay.
Right, and
We want to get in on that one too, by the way.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, if it's a West Loop, let us know. That's
Oh,
what
he's
we're
been
looking
looking at
You know
stuff.
what? I
It's-
was looking at the West Loop,
Yeah.
and it doesn't make any sense there right now. The prices are too high,
Yeah, they are.
and the rents kind of slow down in West Loop.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me, it's not worth going to West Loop right now.
So you rather start at a more conservative neighborhood where you know you're definitely going to get that rental. Can I go back to the rental market and the target audience that the people that you're looking to move into your units? What about schools? Like if you're seeing that parents are moving in, do we have the schools that are, kudos to all the moms who are getting the kids ready for school September 5th? I know you're just counting the days. I know I am. Anyway, but what are you seeing there as far as CPS and magnet programs? Obviously, it's a $5,200 luxury rental, but you want to have that, that ability to be able to send your kids to CPS. I know British is closed, but what are you looking for what are you thinking about at schools there in the area?
I will answer that because
Sure, go ahead.
my two daughters just graduated from Jones College Prep High School,
That's where I went.
which is probably the best in the state right
Mhm.
now. And it's a brand new high school. They built it about 4 years ago.
Okay.
They rebuilt everything and they added a new addition. And it's like impossible to get in.
Yeah.
But for South Loop kids,
Yeah.
they have a special program. I think they got like 150 or 175 spaces that you can, even though it's a selective enrollment, but for South Loop kids, it's selective enrollment only within each other.
The boundary. So it's a neighborhood.
It's
high
like
school?
no, it's not a neighborhood because they take in close to 5,000 kids,
Okay.
but 175 kids they will take from South Loop, and they compete only with the kids from South Loop.
Oh, I
So
see.
they
So
don't
there's
have
not
to
that many
compete.
kids there.
Right. Well,
Wow,
it's
Jacob
growing.
just did a loophole. He just figured out how to get just kids. Are you talking about Jones? How to get your kids
Yes.
into? You heard it
So
on Market Overdrive. I'm
if-
gonna totally own that message.
if you live in South
Dude,
Loop,
you know how hard it is to get to Jones? I mean, you have families moving to like
No, I don't.
Park. Oh yeah, 'cause you have kids. Sorry.
There you go. There we
I'm like
go.
super excited here. You got people moving to Park Ridge, right? Because
could
of the
drive to
high schools.
Jones.
You know what? Seriously, this is great. So you get a
Yeah.
rental. We're spending what? Just go ahead and get a studio.
And the elementary schools are great too.
yeah, and they build in a brand new elementary school.
What are
too.
those schools, by the way, the elementary schools?
It's called South Loop Elementary School. So they're building a brand new one over by 16th and I'd say Wabash is basically the cross street. And down the street you also have there's Daystar. That's a private school. You have Old St. Mary's, which is a private school. There's a lot of choices when it comes to elementary, and we have some of the best daycares. There's a couple, one right down the street that's brand new. There's
They
Rainforest
just
over
opened
at
up, right?
Rainforest over at 14th and State. There's a lot of things
And
to
on
choose
Michigan and 16th, they just opened up.
from. Yeah, new one
Yeah.
down the street from the building.
Right.
So even if you have littles or you're staying in the neighborhood and you want to rent for a few years because you don't know what you're doing or where you're going, what your next step is, this building's a great place to settle down for a few years, enjoy all these high-end amenities. There's great schools in the neighborhood. If you have kids or if you think you might have kids, it's
Or
a
not.
great
If you
spot.
want a party pad, I mean, you have a basketball court,
Right, party pad.
half a basketball
Exactly.
court. See, I know that.
Court, very
Kids
good.
Party
need that.
pad, something goes wrong, you got a doctor downstairs.
That's it. Yeah.
Just thinking.
Yeah, I think
ahead.
it could definitely come
If
in
you would like
handy.
to organize a private event for you and your friends, you have a party room.
Party room.
Yes, that's what you
Yes.
call them.
I understand. Right. I speak party. Don't know Jones, but I speak party.
You know what though? But like that's what we talked about earlier today. Like, tell me a little bit more about you. So you didn't get in. You didn't say I'm going to be this realtor and a real estate like just developer. You were in the medical business per se, but you weren't a dentist.
No. I finished.
And he was fixing.
Triton
Let's go
College
back to how
for
he was
dental
fixing someone's
technology,
teeth. Where did you go?
yes. Triton College.
Shout
for
out.
Dental
So
technology.
you're trying.
Yeah, don't tell me you went there too.
No, I went to Purdue.
Okay.
Where did you go?
It
Nah.
didn't work very well for him.
It didn't. I want to be developing 200 units. 199 units is what we're expecting in the South Loop of Chicago. Obviously, you always hate us talking about the specific neighborhoods, right? But we talked about like Pilsen, up and coming neighborhoods. We talked about Humboldt Park, Logan Square, because in Chicago, these are the areas that are kind of like, just there's so much business going on in there.
The dynamic goes on across the country, though.
Right.
You're seeing this happen in Los Angeles. Los Angeles downtown wasn't even popular until a few years ago. You're seeing it happen in certain parts of New York. You see it happening even in Cincinnati and Cleveland. It doesn't matter what city you're talking about. You're going to have up-and-coming areas. You have a trend in renting is at an all-time high. You know, at first everyone thought it was because the market crashed, liquidity was hard. It was really tough for us to even give out a mortgage, so we understood why people were renting. We couldn't approve you.
Right.
So, of course, you're going to go rent. And people still need a place to put their head down every night. But the reality is that you have a new dynamic with this new demographic. And we are talking about the South Loop, and it's totally fine because it's an exciting project, and we're from Chicago. But anybody watching, and we do have listeners and viewers that are in other cities, they can pick 2 and 2 together, and they can realize that this is a new trend. This is what's going on.
Right.
You have a very big demographic of younger professionals, educated, coming off of a bad cycle of an economy, and things are looking up for them. So luxury rentals, if you're not going to get committed, at times is a lot cheaper than to own it. I know because I sat around the corner, and I believe purely in owning real estate. Let's just get that out of the way. We sell it and finance it. This is what we do for 22 years. I rented around the corner for $6,000 a month because if I bought it, it was going to cost me $9,500 a month.
That's right.
Right.
And then when somebody did buy it from underneath me, I was so sad because it was like
a really nice
it was a
place.
beautiful unit. But if I would have bought
Gorgeous
it,
views.
just my taxes and assessment were already at close to $4,000. So what about the other $1 million that I had to finance now? So I totally understand exactly where you're coming from.
Well, in the down payment.
And the down payment.
Exactly.
You know, but so at the end of the day, this is becoming a phenomenon that is more and more popular as we go. And like he said, while the banks are still making condo financing difficult,
Impossible.
Impossible.
yeah, then they're gonna just do rentals,
It's
and
not
people still
realistic.
need it. You know,
So you're coming in from a trend of like buying and then increasing the cap rate, right? You're going to fill it. You have an amazing realtor who's going to be able to get that place rented right away. She rented 40 condos, 40 units in
About
1 month. So we can expect this to be rented right away and fly off the market
She promised me in 4 months.
in 4 months.
I said
The
4
whole
months,
building.
200 units in 2 months. So, but I mean,
If
the
you need to
demand is
find me, I'll
probably
be
there.
living there.
Right? But the demand is there, and the amenities are perfect for what people are looking for. I mean, these amenities you can't find in somewhere else for this price point. And I'm kidding I'm not kidding when I say the units are spacious. I mean, 1,700 square feet. Even for entry level, you're getting a lot of square footage, 500 square feet to 650 square footage, right?
Yeah.
But so you're not planning on selling this, like packaging it and then flipping it later?
We don't know. We're going to stabilize the building, and we'll see.
time will tell.
Time will
Well,
tell,
that's the cool thing, right? Because you have your family living in the property, so there's a lot of pride of ownership and there's
Right.
stability, right? A lot of people want to say, I want to be part of a bigger message of a bigger thing. I mean, you're living there, your kids go to school there, so I mean I love that fact, right? That you're going to have a very great project, and then you're going to still stay there. Why are you looking at? Usually, I'm looking at
the
Nick.
sales center going to be open and the model so that I can walk this space?
First unit's around March.
March?
In
March
March,
1st is our
yes.
delivery.
Not March 1st, like mid-March.
Mid-March, okay.
And you're taking applications now.
Sales center open yet?
Absolutely. No, we're waiting for our first unit to be delivered, so I have something to show. I mean, the thing with rentals, if somebody wants to sign a lease, I have floor plans. I can show them all the amenities. Come on, let's go, let's sign it. But most people don't want to sign a lease until they can see something, until they can see the product, see the lobby, see the pool. They want to see something before they sign a lease.
Touch it, feel it, smell it, hold it.
Question.
Let's start a new trend, though.
How
Like,
big is that pool?
Jacob?
50 by 20. 50 by 25.
It'll work.
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to say back to Nick's point is I'm a big believer in owning real estate as well. I own my own home, own some
course.
investment properties, so does Jacob. I mean, don't get me wrong. I highly encourage people to buy and sell, but there's a time in everyone's life, I think, that we've all been there. Like you said, you rented for a couple years. I rented for a couple years in Jacob's last project at 1400 South Michigan.
Yeah.
There was a time where I was between properties that I owned. I had rehabbed, I lived in, I sold because I could, make a good profit on it, and I didn't know what I wanted to buy next. So there's nothing wrong with renting for a couple years until you figure out your next move.
and not losing the lifestyle, right?
Well,
Right.
the
Right.
purpose of people promoting home ownership is what they call built-in equity.
Right.
It's a built-in forced savings account, if you will. And in some cases, if you're seeing that, owning it is actually far more expensive, you're really counterproductive to your built-in equity. So in the case I was just mentioning, and he was mentioning, if the prices were $1 million, we'd sell them for $1 million. But
Right.
he's renting them for $4,000 a month right now.
Mhm.
So, you're doing forced savings for the sake of money. So
Right,
if you're
right.
saving money renting versus owning it, then it's the same thing. You're saving money. So we're not here to tell people to, it's all about buying. It's just a matter of, sometimes you have an appetite for a situation. Or like you said,
Right.
you're in a holding pattern, 2 years, you don't know.
There's
Maybe you're
times
getting
that-
married, maybe you're having kids, maybe you're not. Maybe you have to, your job's going to, you have one of those
Right.
jobs where you could be relocated.
And you're just
That's
not
why
sure.
you're renting. You
Right.
should be renting. You
There are
shouldn't be buying.
people-
It's a nightmare then.
Right.
know?
If you're buying, I tell people you should be prepared. I mean, right now, and of course, it depends on what building. It depends on what product. But most
Yeah.
people need to be able to hold it for at least 4 to 7 years, depending on where they're buying and what it is. And to say, oh, I'm only here for 2 years. Well, by the time you add up closing costs and brokers and all that,
You're gonna
cost of
lose
moving.
money.
I
yeah.
know a couple that wants to tour Chicago. Every 2 years, they're moving the neighborhood. They just
like
want
to just
yeah,
try
they
'em all
want
out.
to try out Streeterville, then they want to try out West Loop, then they want to do South Loop, then they want to do, teach their own.
Yeah,
You know,
I've
and
had
they're-
people do that before they buy. They
Right.
rent it all over, and then they
Right.
decide, all right, this is where I'm happy, and this is where I'm putting my money.
Right.
It's just good to be able to have that flexibility and investment. But to a lot of people who are watching or listening are thinking, my neighborhoods are not doing that great. Why are they demanding such high rents? Just know that there's pockets in Chicago that are demanding high rents, and there's still a lot of. I mean, you're talking about 2018 delivery, right? And you're saying, well, most renters are looking to. They don't start shopping until a month before they lock down their rental property.
Some I would say, at the earliest, I'm seeing it's usually about 90 days out. Sometimes, then people even wait till they get closer, 30 days, and they're like, all right, no, I'm definitely moving. I got to go find a place.
But I'm going to go mommy on you right now. So I'm going to challenge you, right? If you know that you're tired of living with your parents because you don't have a down payment to buy something, I'm going to challenge you to save your money so that you can start applying for a luxury rental that's going to have you in the heart of Chicago's finest location, right? And then just get yourself started so that you have a place. I mean, these amenities are awesome. I know you're going to miss your parents cooking, but it comes with a masseuse.
Not me.
Giordano's is
My mom
across the
sucks at
street.
cooking. Mom, I know you're watching the show. I love you. You're a horrible cook. I will never miss your cooking.
You know,
can
if
order
she was
pizza, though.
here, she would totally.
She can order a pizza. She can burn water, too.
What every week I tell you, this is not therapy for Nick. I don't want to
Feels
hear
like
it.
it sometimes.
No,
you said
we
mother's
don't
cooking and
care.
it got sensitive. Sorry. My grandmother, different story.
Are you guys even? What is the next trend of amenities? Because I mean, you guys are really taking it to the next level with amenities in this project. Like, where do you see it going? I mean, is there a ceiling?
I want to say it's no ceiling, but we'll see. I have no idea what else to put in the building.
Seriously, I'm
Right.
telling you that sauna. It's a Russian spa.
Helicopter pad for when we leave thousandaire to billionaire. Think ahead, man. Think
Don't listen
ahead.
to
Right
him.
on top.
Don't listen to him. I mean,
No, listen to me. Trust me.
that's what millennials want.
Millennials will want a helicopter pad, even if it doesn't get used.
You're gonna have Lady Gaga renting from you, and
right.
Right.
I think it's super cool. Seriously, have you ever rented to a celebrity? We always ask that question on the show, just because I want to get it in.
No, you always ask that question on the show.
Well, let him answer the
Celebrity
question.
in, 1400, I forgot.
Maybe a few. I don't know if you should mention names
don't
about
have
where
to say
celebrities
names. I think they
live.
want
Are they still
privacy.
living there?
Yeah, I don't think that'd be good
No,
for my
now you-
celebrity
now you
clients.
Now you just open up a stalker.
Oh wow!
Can't do
really?
that.
We're gonna talk after this, Jacob. After the show, we want to know who it is.
Stalker alert.
I already know where
Stalker
you
alert.
live. I know where you live.
Right.
I don't care where Graco lives. I mean, you're in the neighborhood.
I live in the neighborhood. I like where I live.
What neighborhood are you in?
I'm right down the street in
Yeah, where do you live?
Oh,
right on Chestnut.
He lives in a
Nice.
box.
Yeah, little box.
It's time for you to move and get one of these 17.
By the way, we're having a party at Graco's house tomorrow. Is it
Yeah,
tomorrow?
If you're in the neighborhood, come on by.
Come on by. Nice little high
It's a
rise, nice
little
views.
work.
It's an
thing.
amazing
yeah.
view. We got great
Yeah.
views to the lake, right?
Great views of
It's
the
gonna
lake.
be a great event.
Sun deck,
There's a
great
swimming pool.
you
I'll
sent
be there in
me
my
the text,
Speedo.
Indoor
Your
area.
chillax or something. You
Chillax,
put? Yeah.
Relax.
The idea is to come out and actually work. This is not just a little
I'm not
party
gonna work.
shindig gathering. I like to gather professionals in one setting, and you can work from this location on this day, grab a little bite for lunch, and then go about your way.
And I'll be in my eye Speedo.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
a
what it
party. It's a working lounge.
Why can't you have fun while you're working?
Nobody wants to see you in a Speedo while I'm making phone calls and talking to my
You
clients,
don't wanna
Nick.
see me in a
I'm not
Speedo,
coming to your
but
party if
you're
he's,
not
not
the
wearing,
only
he's wearing
person.
Speedos. I mean, it's not a party. Your social networking
Jacob,
event.
you're welcome if you're in the area.
He's not going come. You already told
It's right
him.
down the
Do
street.
I have to wear a speedo?
No speedo.
No.
Only if you like.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
Do you wear a Speedo?
No.
Okay, good. We have to ask because I'm not going. Like you guys are. Okay. No, you know what? Sorry. Okay, can we wrap it up? Thank you for watching Market Overdrive. We're here every Wednesday to elevate your real estate IQ and, of course, give you a sneak peek about what's happening in Chicago, what's trending, and what's hot. Aside from Graco and his birthday and his iNetwork. It's called iNetwork, right?
Yeah,
Chillax
iNetwork.
tomorrow at, what's the address? Plug it.
260 East Chestnut. If you're in the neighborhood, come on by. Happy to have you guys. And we're going to have a great time. We have Wi-Fi, and we'll have good food and beverages for you guys.
Music. Nikki's going to create a
Music.
drink.
Nick will be in his Speedo, his long banana or short banana.
Short,
Speedo.
very short.
The banana hammock will be out. No.
But we love to
You
have
are
you
too much.
professionals in the area to come on out. And it's a beautiful building. It's an older building, but I love it. I've been there a few years, 260 East Chestnut.
It's get inspired, work, and oversee Chicago with beautiful views, and you can actually get some work done.
And more importantly, we want to thank our guests for being here today, teaching us all about luxury rentals,
Thanks for
especially
having
here in the
us.
South Loop. I want to say thank you, of course, to Lauren Schuh of Jameson Sotheby's. The direct phone number, should I just give that one out?
Sure.
312-909-1329. An amazing project in
They're taking applications for
in
14 on
conjunction-
Michigan,
in
1407.
conjunction- In conjunction with our good friend at Russland Capital Group, the principal Jacob Bletnitsky. Did I say that right?
Bletnitsky.
Bletnitsky.
Almost.
Bletnitsky. Get it
Jacob
together.
Bletnitsky of the Russland Capital Group. Sounds like an amazing project. You got everything from a medical group. Jacob can actually fix your teeth if you have problems. And
In-home dental services.
We'll have a chillax day there.
I'm
once
sure
it's
you can.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that's
chillax
great. Did you hear that?
Thank
You
you.
could probably find more information about this project specifically. I mean, I have the Russland Group here.com, but I'm
It's
sure
1407 on Michigan.com.
1407 on Michigan.com. If you want more information or you want to rewatch this show over again and look at our beautiful guests here with an amazing story and a great development, you can obviously watch this back on Facebook Live, repeat it, or you will have a final copy of this edited on Monday, on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Market Overdrive, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WGN Radio podcast. We're on all of them, and we all know what this stands for, right?
What?
We
Go
great.
away, Nick.
We great now, WGN Radio.
God. You came back with a lot of energy.
We are. Is this our last show on Wednesday morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
We are
You're so
moving
smart.
the show from Wednesday mornings to Tuesday at
Why
2
is that,
p.m.
Nick? Do
Hey,
tell.
no, Thursdays.
Do
Because
explain
boss
that.
said so, and I can't wake up this early
Because
anymore.
Nick cannot drive this early, so I'm sorry we were late today. It's
Thursdays.
totally
We are
his fault.
shipping the show to Thursday at 2 p.m. We're just going to tell everybody you got a promotion, and they want us to fill the 2 o'clock spot. They demanded us. They demanded us to do this show at 2 o'clock on Thursdays from now on because there's a prime time slot. We said we had to think about it. They upped their ante. They paid us a lot more money, and here we are. Thursdays, 2 o'clock from now on. Market Overdrive. See you then. Thursday, 2 o'clock next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching. We'll
Thank
see you again
you.
next
Thank
Wednesday.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You are too much in life.